17 is what we'll be breaking down in this video. 17 and the Shriners. Now, who are the Shriners and what is the number 17 all about? Okay, so the Shriners are formerly known as the Ancient Arabic Order of the Nobles of the Mystic Shrine. Okay, now they were established in 1870. They have well over 200 temples across North and South America, Southeast Asia, Central America, and Europe. So pretty much they were all over the world. And who were they? The Shriners comprised of thousands of men. Okay, they would fellowship in Manhattan at a cottage called Knickerbocker Cottage. And there was one particular man named Florence who was invited to this diplomatic party. It was an Arabic party, and he attended this party and became a member of a secret society there in Cairo, okay? And he had drew pictures and he took notes when he was at this diplomatic party. And then when he came back to the Knickerbocker Lounge, he had gotten with a gentleman named Walter Fleming, okay? And together he and Walter Fleming, along with, other members, they had established its first temple, okay? The Shriners' first temple, called the Mecca Temple, okay? And they had also established shrine auditoriums through their imperial councils, okay? Now, these Freemasons or these Odd Fellows, they just kind of just grew from there, okay? Now, before we're going to talk deep about this, okay? But before we discuss, their beginnings and, what they did, let's discuss really quick the systems of the degrees of Freemasonry, okay? Which are called Scottish Rite bodies, okay? So you have your Lodge of Perfection, which is through the 4th through the 14th degree. You have your Council, and by the way, the first three degrees are just an apprenticeship through the Blue Lodge, okay? So you have your 4th degree through your 14th degree, which is the Council. 4th through 14th are the Lodge of Perfection, okay? And then you have the 15th and 16th degree, which is the Council of Princes of Jerusalem, okay? And then you have the chapter of Rose and Cruce, or Rose and Cross, and that's what we're going to be discussing today, which is the 17th and the 18th degree, okay? That's going to be our topic of discussion. The 17th and the 18th degree, chapter of the Rose and the Cross, okay? And then you have the consistory degrees, which are 19 through 32. Now, altogether, there are 29 degrees, not including the 3 degrees of the Blue Lodges, the beginning degrees. Now, the Supreme Council is the governing body, or the governing body, I should have said, of the Scottish Rite, okay? Now, the degrees of Scottish Rite are pretty much just stage plays, okay? So plays, where you go into an auditorium or a theater and you witness plays. So they consider this to be a world stage, okay? Complete with their costumes, the scenery, special effects. I mean, they even have a team of production, okay? And supposedly the purpose of these stage plays on the world stage pretty much vary. Notably, it varies depending on which particular Masonic temple is putting on that play, okay? Now, the plays represent Masonic philosophy so that the men understand the true purpose of life, okay? And that's what that's about. Now, let's go through the degrees in a summary fashion before concentrating on the 17th degree. And I should just say that the men associated with the 17th degree, which is actually known as the Knights of the East and West, okay? Knights of the East and West. And by the way, Albert Pike, he was a Freemason who wrote a book called Morals and Dogma. And this book was given to new apprentices entering into the Masonic Brotherhood. Okay. And now, as I stated, the first three degrees are completed through the Blue Lodge. Okay. So that's serving as their initiation periods. Okay. And we're going to talk about clowns in this video. We're going to talk about circuses in this video. We're going to talk about missing children in this video. We're going to get deep, okay? But you all know that I like to kind of lay the foundation, okay? So before we begin our adventure, that we will come, that will lead us into the number 17. Let's begin the adventure and talk about just a good summary of these degrees, okay? So degree number 4, remember the first 3 degrees are just an apprenticeship. So degree number 4 is considered to be a master traveler, okay? So you would explore, you'll become an explorer of Masonry's paths, okay? Degree number 5, which is the perfect master. Learning how to avoid moral and spiritual destruction is what they would be learning. Degree number 6, master of the brazen serpent. So they would be learning about loyalty, That's right. The Shriners Hospital. The Shriners Hospital, they own and operate 22 hospitals in the United States, Canada, and Mexico, okay? Focusing on burns. Children who were burnt victims is their main focus. I mean, they focus on spinal cord injuries and cleft lip palates as well, but its special interests are burn victims. And believe you me, we're going to go deep diving in the fires, but for now, let's just talk about these clowns, or these Royal Order of Jesters, as they would prefer to be called. They won't treat children over the age of 18, okay? And they so-called say that they're helping children. And this Masonic fun degree isn't so fun after all, as you'll see now that I'm in a position to point out the obvious, okay? So this order is extremely anti-publicity, meaning they prefer to keep all their businesses top secret. Now, before we get into the lesser known secrets about the Shriners, who are master masons who prefer to be called jesters, that dress up as clowns and behave like maniacs, okay? We all have heard of the saying. Well, if you haven't heard, the Shriners also own and operate circuses, okay? And the model for their circuses is bread and circus, okay? Now, bread and circuses, as we Americans, we knew that as a healthy food store, which is now called Whole Foods, okay? So bread and circus is the reality of politicians using propaganda as a tool of diversion, okay? And they're political strategies, and they come from ancient Rome. And, you know, you've probably heard from the beginning of the video, the 17th degree, this particular, Masonic brotherhood, they adapt, and then they appreciate, and they pretty much live by these ancient philosophies and these techniques, okay, of ancient Rome. So when failed policies are taking place in the world, it's important for them to divert the attention of the masses by some sort of large spectacle, such as like a sports arena get together, maybe some sort of mass pow that be going down in our era, right? So, because there's nothing new under the sun, like all of that subsidized housing, part-time jobs, welfare, free bread, free entertainment, equal rights, all of that was born in ancient Rome. So them Caesars and them emperors, they definitely made sure that they created all of those things like holidays, and just like Americans, the Romans spent nearly half of their days at gladiator games, public executions, chariot races, and that sort of thing. So that's what they call bread and circus. And the Shriners actually have their own sector of a circus, which is called the Shriner Circuses, okay? Okay, so on to the very first Shriners Hospital, which is located in Shreveport, Louisiana. And this location is considered to be the Masonic Fraternal's foundation's just main organization, their main hospital, okay? And these Shriners hospitals, much like the lodges, are all covered in symbolic tools, symbolism everywhere. Symbolism is the very fabric of Freemasonry, okay? Now, Philadelphia Shriners Hospital, as well as Shreveport, they work very close with the Army, the Air Force, the Guatemalan Combined Military Forces, Health and Human Services, and the Department of Health, okay? And they'll even arrange medical visas for children in other countries, all right? Exploiting children, and they call this love to the rescue, okay? They will take pictures with young boys wearing only their underpants. I mean, it's extremely disturbing. But stay with me, because we're going to find out why they do really work closely with all of these government agencies. across the world to gain access to these children and rescue them from situations. Okay, so, and you'll soon see that these situations, they also create, so problem, reaction, solution. Okay, so they would bring in these clowns by the children's bedsides to entertain them. And not many people found that those clowns were amusing. They were quite frightening. They were extremely vulgar, okay? But they called this love to the rescue. That's their motto, okay? And in most of their photos and videos, the children were not even accompanied by adult supervision. You hardly see nurses, all right? Like, where are the caretakers? Where's the parents while these clowns and these Shriners are sitting these children in their laps or taking them away on trips, okay? And they seem to be like only accompanied by creepy clowns, all right? But just like John Wayne Gacy, he confessed to working for a local ice cream company named Brestlers, all right, who were famous for 33 flavors of ice cream. But so too were many of the clowns inside of the Shriners. They also work outside of the Shriners hospitals within their communities, okay? And they volunteered their services, like Milky the Clown, whose real name was Clarence R. Cummins. He portrayed a clown for Twin Pines Dairy. Just like Gacy, Clarence was born in Chicago but resided in Birmingham. All right, then you have Hawthorne Melody Farms, and that's the dairy farm for which Milky the Clown, his he actually was a clown for them. And they feature missing children on milk box. They call them milk box kids, okay? And they were referred to as these missing children of the 80s, okay? And this farm is in Iowa, the same state that Johnny Gosh, the little boy who went missing, was from, okay? Now, these children go missing in the United States of America, never to be seen again, okay? And most of them are in close proximity of these Shriners, circuses, and these dairy farms, okay? So, as of April 15th, 1987, it was reported that over 7 million children had suddenly disappeared, okay, in the United States. And that was only from 1971 through 1986, okay? That's 7 million children in the course of what? 16 years, all right? That's more than 1 million children per year that went missing. Like, what's really going on? Okay, then we have the McDonald boys who went missing, and they actually were in close proximity of a Shriner circus as well. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at, the Shriner circuses, their particular locations, okay? So if you follow the circus routes and then you see where all of these missing children were reported, you'll see that it was right under the nose of these circuses, okay? And these circuses have a lot of deep, when I say deep evil embedded within it, okay? Now, before we get into the circus locations, I want to talk about John Wayne Gacy for a moment, okay? They said that they found 33 children within his home. But that home that had those children discovered under the floor beds and, under the cement, that was actually not a home. That was actually a business location where all of the construction workers worked out of. And they worked for the presidents, the mayors, okay? He had secret top security clearance, okay, for these different festivals and circuses and things of this nature. And he worked really, really close with the presidents, okay? So let's talk about that for a moment. And so we can see how John Wayne Gacy was actually tied to the Shriners, okay? And tied to Rosalind Carter and Jimmy Carter, all right? Because Rosalind Carter and Jimmy Carter, actually operated a lot of the construction businesses in which they financed John Wayne Gacy. Okay, so let's dig into that a little bit more deeper, and we'll see how John Wayne Gacy could have possibly been set up. Okay, maybe he did something he wasn't supposed to do. Maybe he didn't cooperate when he wasn't supposed to cooperate. But you'll see that there were over 40 people who had access to that home. So this was not a home in which John Wayne Gacy resided. He slept there every night. There was sometimes weeks, months, sometimes even, with there was even one time in his interview where he said he didn't even have access to that house for an entire year, okay, with all of these construction guys coming and going within the facilities. Okay, so that in itself tells me that there's something going on. All right, so John Wayne Gacy had a contracting company called Pt.1, in which he netted millions of dollars. Okay, he did all sorts of contracts for all kind of high profile clients. Okay, and he also was a recruiter for the JCs. JCs are the junior council members that they bring into the council of chambers within the politician and the political sector. Okay, and it's well known that they would actually use porn to recruit these young boys, okay, to become, these junior politicians. And he was a politician. But see, these are the things that the news has hidden from you, okay? So in addition to him being a clown, okay, being a clown outside of his community, being a millionaire, and being a Shriner, I also believe that he was set up as well. Okay, so now let's talk about the clown sightings that have been very prevalent during 2016. I mean, we've been having clown sightings and clown kidnappings happening since the 1950s. But these sightings and clowns have come with something sinister. It's been said that clowns have been chasing children across America. And I mean, it stretched all out the USA and even out of the States, okay? And these clowns always appear at night or early in the morning when the sun was not visible. Not always, but mostly. But they would be chasing children as they walk to school, walk to their bus stops, chasing children out of parks where they were playing at, and they would seemingly appear from out of nowhere, from the woods, okay? One little boy came screaming from a park, his name, or a little girl, I should have said, I'm sorry, and her name was Brianna Hawk. It's either Brian or Brianna, I'm not even sure, but the child was 12, and the child said that he or she saw a group of clowns eating something in the woods, okay? And so all of these stories are being told on how clowns are chasing children. One clown was chasing a child so fast, and when the child had ran up to a car, the clown then turned around and ran back into the woods, okay? Like unbelievably, unhumanly fast, okay? And then started hurling sticks and branches towards where the child was with like superb accuracy, okay? And then it came to a point where police were issuing warnings to parents, and the police had called these threats predators. You know, be careful about the predators in clown costumes, they would say, seeking to lure children into the woods, okay? But there's so many different stories. There was a teenager who was actually attacked by a clown. Clowns were robbing businesses in 2016, Taco Bell's, Domino's, convenience stores, just real strange occurrences everywhere, okay? And my speculation, even before thousands of all these 9/11 calls came in, you know, from even drivers who were scared and distracted by clowns jumping in front of their vehicles. But I strongly believe that this is a twofold thing happening. I believe that they're working with the Blue Beam Project coupled with actual clowns, okay? I know it's far-fetched, but you know me, I'm far-fetched. And of course, no arrests have been made, during these particular clown sightings or these police, responding to these particular calls and things of that nature, okay? Now, let us move on to talk a little bit about the 17th degree, okay? Because the 17th degree and the clown sightings and the fires and the disastrous things that are happening around the world. Let's get a little bit deeper into the 17th degree and the Knights of the East and West. With a compelling amount of temples, hospitals, shrines, along with shrine surgeons. The Knights of the East and West, and they're only master masons, okay? The Knights of the East and West, um, they're only allowed within this particular Masonic order or mark lodges. And this would be called a Royal Arch chapter, okay? And this particular chapter, 17, is based in Dublin, Ireland. And a member of this group is called a Knight Mason. So there are 3 degrees only within those lodges. And those degrees are Knight of the Sword, Knight of the East and Knight of the East and West, okay? And they are presided over by an excellent chief, okay? And as I stated previously, these degrees and all sectors of this brotherhood communicate the story of the efforts to build the second temple in Jerusalem. Okay, so York Rite and the ancient and accepted Scottish Rite and others, they all bear a close similarity to the Knights of the East and West, but they're all very different in nature. Okay, all of them are by invitation only, and these particular degrees are referred to as the degrees of captivity, okay? And they have these 17th degree Masons all around the world. I mean, from New Zealand to Bermuda, Greece, South Africa, India, Australia. If it is a place, you name it, they have this brotherhood all over the world. And you will be shocked to find out what has actually happened within these brotherhoods by the end of this video. Now, all of these Masons, they must be raised in the craft before exalting into royal arch, and after that they must be advanced to the rank of a mark master Mason. Okay, and when you realize who and what they worship, you're gonna gag. Okay, and understand this all goes much deeper than Baal. All right, so let's dig into the symbolism and the emblems. They're all about their numbers and symbols, okay? That governs their entire existence, symbolism. The crescent emblem with the head of the Sphinx, um, in the center, okay? In the center of the Sphinx is a pyramid and an urn and a star. On the back of the crescent, it has some words or a motto, if you will, and it states Robur et Furor, okay? So that's Robur et Furor, Robur, and that stands for strength and fury, okay? All members use the salutation Assalamu alaikum, which means peace be with you. Okay, so that's right. If you've heard that before, Muslims use that salutation. Okay, and Freemasons, pretty much they do. They worship Allah. Okay, they worship Allah in secret, and wearing a red fez hat with black tassels are their identifying headgear, okay? And that came from Muhammad. So in 1827, Muhammad had mandated the fez hat for his army, okay? His new army that he put together, this spectacular army, and this hat replaced the traditional turban that they used to wear. And the fez hat separated civilians from the militants, okay? So this fez hat has been used as a part of a soldier's uniform in Pakistan as late as 1960s, okay, and it's still worn today by Middle Easterns or Middle Easterners, people from South Asia, North Africa, and even in Cape Town, they're still wearing the fez hats within their armies, okay. So now let us talk about the fires. Let's talk about the fires and the orphanages that have been burnt to the ground, only to have the Shriners come in and help them. So let's see what that is all about. One moment. Can somebody tell me why the goat seems like it's a stand-in for Satan himself? It seems like in every culture, the devil is depicted as a goat. The Knights of Templar were accused of being Baphomet worshippers or worshiping, the goat headed god. And as we've heard, and there's plenty of evidence suggesting that the Baphomet requires human sacrifice. Okay, so the goat is really a true occultic symbol. Okay, and Baphomet is also the sigil of the Church of Satan, created in 1966 by Anton LaVey, or you will call him Pan in the legend of the Greeks. Okay, so I don't know what's going on with this social media craze where they're saying that goat means greatest of all time, but goats stand for selfishness, uncaring people, okay, lacking empathy, very cold people, okay, where the popular belief is that a goat doesn't care about nothing or no one. Nothing exists except for the goat, except itself, okay? So, speaking of invisible um, things, it's important before we go further to discuss really quick the invisible college, okay? And in the German Rosicrucian pamphlets, the invisible college really means the House of Solomon, okay, which initiates of the 17th degree learn through, okay, and they call this the Blue Lodge. All right, you have computer scientists, you have astronomers. I mean, just a whole global network of academics get together and they share secrets and ideas that the rest of the world is not privy to. Okay, and within this Royal Society of Scholars, they practice and study what's invisible to most people. All right, lost symbols. The Da Vinci Code is all about lost symbols. Okay, and if you want to know more about symbols, there's a gentleman named Robert Langdon who's a world renowned Harvard symbology. So that's Robert Langdon, Langdon. And his mentor is a 33rd degree Mason named Peter Solomon. Okay. And he's the head of the Smithsonian Institute. All right. And also, you can check out Inferno. Tom Hanks plays Robert Langdon in Inferno. Okay. Dante's Inferno with the levels of hell. Okay. Now, okay, so now that we talked about Inferno, that would be a perfect segue to start on the fires. But let me just talk about Solomon and Solomon's temple and who and what Solomon was all about. Okay? One minute. Okay. I apologize. If you hear rain, like heavy rain, that's the rain falling on my balcony. But in any event, Solomon is said to have built the temple in Jerusalem with the help of demons, okay? And this is referenced as the key of Solomon, okay? And that's a ring. It's a ring that was given to Solomon by the archangel Michael, okay? And with this ring, Solomon was able to actually control demons, okay? And it said that the temple in Jerusalem, built under Solomon's command, was actually contracted and constructed by 72 demons, okay? And it's no secret that the Masons study Solomon, okay? They study this particular craft, okay, of Freemasonry, where you are being helped by demons to build, okay? So, go figure. We even have depictions of Freemasons within the Flintstones, okay? Remember the Flintstones? That was like a popular cartoon back in the 80s, and we had Fred and Barney Rubble, who were actually Freemasons, and they would actually go to the lodge and gather together in this brotherhood. Okay, so it was being introduced to us at young ages, or if you weren't that young, earlier on, okay, to kind of normalize brotherhoods and secrets, and the getting familiar with the idea that the man would go ahead and meet in secret and leave the wife at home, okay, and couldn't talk about the things that he was learning or he was into. Okay. All right. So now we're going to talk about the fires. I promise. Give me one quick second. So, the Feast of Fires. Now, these ancient Celtic traditions and ceremonies are extremely wicked. They have symbolic meanings that are very deep, okay? Now, these fire festivals have been celebrated and recognized for an extremely long time and starts in August, which is why it's said that August is a very hot month, if you know what I mean by the number 17, okay? Now, do you believe that there is a bridge connecting to the fact that Shriners are also heavily involved in fires really deep? Not just saving kids' lives in hospitals, but a lot of them are fire chiefs. A lot of them are firefighters, okay? And they're truly in love with fire, okay? Now they have this sick fascination with fires, okay? Now, allegedly, they have been setting our world on fire, okay? Now, I'm going to try to make some sense of this, okay? So, let me drop a quick girl code clue for you, okay, as we descend down some of the rabbit hole a little deeper here, okay? Now, as I set this stage for you, I want to make you aware that there was an episode of The Simpsons where Bart tries to get Sideshow Bob a gig, okay? So he's holding up a sign that reads KLS 3205, okay? Now, KLS 3205 is the numerology and code for universal keys to the city, okay? So, in other words, property owners don't have this particular key to their property, or commercial property owners do not receive the keys to their property either. And this KLS would lead to a Knox box, okay? So that's KNOX box. And for that reason, these keys are held at the fire department, who has the master keys. Why would Bart Simpson have that sign holding that up? So now let me explain a little bit further, if you will, okay? Or more importantly, what a Knox box actually is. Now, a Knox box is a secure key safe that mounts to the wall of a building, like a nightclub. Follow me now, okay? And the only key available to open that box are in the possession of the fire station or the fire company. So, whenever there's a fire or a fire alarm, the fire company is the one that accesses this key safe box, or this Knox box, or the KLS 3205 box, okay? They, meaning the fire department, are then able to enter into a building rather than breaking into a building, or a commercial residence or a residential location, whatever. And this depiction of Bart, with the clown flyer is actually being sold for over $600. Now why is that happening? Why is that flyer so very important? Okay, I don't know, but it's a hand painted production, and it's basically, it was used in the Simpson episode, The Last Temptation of Krusty. Okay, so why is the clown featured in this episode? What's the numerology? What's the secret encoded within the episode? Well, I dug into the fact that this episode aired on February 22nd, 1998. Now, eerily similar to The Last Temptation of Krusty, because that's the name of it, The Last Temptation of Krusty. Okay, February 22nd, 1998, The Last Temptation of Krusty. Now, why am I mentioning that? Because it sounds a lot like The Last Temptation of Christ. Now, in The Last Temptation of Krusty, if we look into it, I said, well, what massive fire took place February 22nd, 1998? Well, the same day that this episode aired, one of the biggest fires in Bethlehem's history, Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, had happened. Okay, and in this fire, it was at a silk mill farm. Well, not a farm like that, but where they produce silk at. The women produce silk, and there was this huge fire that pretty much melted the entire building. Okay, so I believe that that particular KLS 3205 sign that Bart was holding up was, sending some sort of code out to, the brotherhood, if you will. Okay, and I feel like, there's a lot of symbology within this particular episode. Now, we started with the fires there in Bethlehem, but that's not all. Also, within that particular episode, there was a fire inside of Moe's Tavern. And I guess, Homer and his friends couldn't even make it out the back door. They were actually trapped inside of Moe's Tavern. Okay, so they were trying to push out and they couldn't get out. And that has been the case, once we look a little bit deeper, that has been the case with a lot of these fires that have happened, not just in America, but across the entire globe. I'm talking about from Chile to Haiti. There are always these children killed in these strange, horrific orphanage fires, to where the building is literally melting from the roof down. Okay, and they can never give us a definitive answer as to why these fires are happening. So the first thought for me was to look into who owned these establishments that house the orphans. And here's what I found. So we have Dr. John Harvey Kellogg, who owned the Battle Creek Sanitarium, with his brother W.K. Kellogg. Yep, the breakfast pioneer Kellogg, right? And it was said that he deliberately started the fire after being voted out by board members after some sort of shady business practices that were uncovered involving the children. And he, by the way, reaped the benefits of the insurance proceeds after the terror, after the destruction and death from those fires. And oftentimes the fires burnt so hot that there were no words to describe its alarm ratings. And in addition to the heat, residents were often trapped inside as if someone on the outside was preventing escape. And the children suffered horrific burns, those who weren't, unalived. And the severely injured children were then transported to none other than the Shriners Children's Hospital, which was extremely controversial because the Shriners Hospital would immediately take out life insurance policies on the underage children, who oftentimes wouldn't live, okay? And then next, we have another pioneer that we have heard of, and his name is John Hopkins. Now, he was a wealthy Quaker merchant, okay, and a banker. And he spent his fortune establishing several institutions, including a university, a hospital, a separate children's hospital, and a colored orphan asylum, which allegedly specialize in the care of African American children. Okay, so this took place in Baltimore in 1875, and we're not going to even discuss the Great Baltimore fires, but of course this orphanage had also burnt down on 7/13 in 1863. So July 13th, 1863, it was blamed on rioters at that time, when the orphanage was actually burned down. But let's discuss the tragedy surrounding John Hopkins and his institution. Okay, so they say there's nothing new under the sun until, of course, these evil people have been removed from the planet. Then there will be new things to take place. But the first thing that I want to concentrate is on his all children's health care system that he ran. And there were a lot of controversial situations that happened surrounding that. There was a Dr. Levy who actually was charged and indicted with child pornography. There were men who were abducted. There were men who, turned up unalived after last being seen at the John Hopkins Institution. There was a couple, it was an army doctor and an anesthesiologist who actually was fired. They were indicted with providing medical secrets to Ukraine that actually worked at John Hopkins Institution. There was another doctor who was charged with bullying. He was actually bullying the staff members. Okay, there was so much controversy surrounding these doctors that it had to be some sort of unethical practices that they actually learned, because it would be doctor after doctor, it'd be patient after patient. There were children who were escaping from the hospital, all the time. Okay, and so there was just a whole lot of controversy surrounding John Hopkins and his institutions. Okay. And then I don't know if you guys are aware of a Netflix picture, and it's called Saving Maya. Okay, so Maya was a 10-year-old who had some debilitating pain, who was actually rushed into the John Hopkins All Children's Institution or All Children's Hospital. And it was said that her parents had actually been over medicating her, which the jury found to be false. Okay, Maya and her dad had sued John Hopkins Institution and won nearly $200 million because Maya's mom, who was actually an accredited nurse, killed herself. Okay, after this hospital took parental supervision over her child for nearly 10 years. John Hopkins is also involved in unethical treatments and experimentation with owls. Okay, so they're doing very horrible things to these owls in the name of ADHD, ADHD research. They were also involved with the Tuskegee experiment. So we all know the Tuskegee experiment that took place in Alabama, where a lot of School of Medicine facilities had gotten together and did this experiment on African American farmers, okay? And John Hopkins was one of those medical institutions involved with that, okay? Let's move along. We have fires ravishing through these orphanages from Haiti. Okay, we have fires ravishing orphanages in Chile and Guatemala. Okay, we have the Easter Island fires. Okay, these fires are really pretty much popping up all throughout these orphanages, and people are really, these children are really being fatally injured in these fires. Okay, and also let's move along and talk about the Burning Man statues and the Burning Man, this great event that's put on in the Black Rock Desert. Okay, so give me just a moment, and I want to talk about the specifics of the Burning Man show that was actually flooded. It was actually flooded this last time around. You know, our God sent a great flood out there to these fire worshiping people that gather. So give me a moment. Let's talk about Burning Man for a moment. Burning Man, a man-made temporary city in the Nevada desert. The Black Rock Desert can house over 60,000 people inside its annual gathering. This began in 1986, and the festival starts at the end of August. Remember, August is a hot month, and it runs into the first week of September. They call this place Black Rock City, and the name Black Rock City is a direct reference to the black stone rock of the Kaaba in Mecca, the most holiest site in Islam. Now, it's said that the stone in Mecca fell from the heavens, which the Freemasons believe came directly from the planet Saturn. And both Mecca and the Black Rock City share the same secrets. The metal of the lead, the color black, in its planetary alchemy symbolism is that the planet Saturn is recognized as the black sun. And the Masonic high occult belief systems, that's what they practice. Now, the founders of Black Rock's Burning Man, they're all enlightened, meaning they do recognize the event's origins, okay? So let us take a look at the aerial outline of Black Rock City. The outer perimeters are an entire pentagon, which represents humanity. As the participants sleep within the shape, it's a layout of the city which is designed in the layout of a clock symbolizing time. And there's a gigantic clock tower, and it's also present at the site of Kaaba, okay, and Mecca, revealing the connection of Burning Man to Father Time, okay. Now, the Macaw clock tower, it has bull horns. It has a crescent motif adorned in solar gold for the 17th degree Freemasons. These are all iconic Saturnian symbols, okay? And if you look at the fez hat that the Shriners wear, we spoke general about the fez hat earlier on, but let's focus on the actual logo used by the Shriners. So you'll see that the fez hat has the symbol of Saturn and an Islamic Shemitah sword thrusted through it, okay? Now, Also, I want to talk about the Abraham Accord, the Abraham Accords coin, the peace treaty that was signed, the peace treaty deal that was signed by President Donald J. Trump. Now, I'm going to warn you because this is a big time trigger warning right here, okay? What you hear is going to be a little disheartening, okay? But there is a rainbow at the end of the storm, okay? So let's talk a little bit deeper about the Abraham Accords coin and the actual symbols inside of the coin itself. Prophet Abraham and the Abraham Accords, Peace Treaty, and Mecca are all relevant in terms of what the Bible says about revelation. And I just want to bring your attention to locusts in Mecca. Okay, so it was an extraordinary event. So at the most holiest site in Islam during the Ramadan, the mosque was actually besieged by a massive swarm of locusts. Okay, so a large swarm of locusts attacked the Grand Mosque in Mecca in Saudi Arabia, and this was during Ramadan. Okay, I mean, it was raining, it was flooding, there were crickets, there were mice, there were rats, there were rodents. I mean, it disrupted the worshipers. It was a large scale locust invasion, and I know that we've heard about that time and time again. There was thunderstorms where that clock tower that we spoke about with the bullhorns was actually hit right from the top, okay, in Mecca. And so what does that have to do with the times that we're in? Well, the Abraham Accord, um, there's one of the coins that has Donald Trump minted on it, and he is featured with the King Cyrus. Now, who was King Cyrus? Cyrus was the second king of Persia, known as Cyrus the Great. Okay, he was the leader and the founder of the Persian Empire. Persia was ancient day Iran, what Iran is today. Now, he was the spitting image of what 45 is and will be for the nations. Now, I want you to pay close attention to what I'm about to explain because this is truly biblical, okay? So, King Cyrus was infamous for freeing the Jews from captivity. So, he had freed the Jews from the Babylonians, okay? Remember, they talked about Israel saving, the keyword saving Israel for last, okay? So he helped the Jews rebuild the temple in Jerusalem. Okay, so King Cyrus subdued nations before him. He stripped kings of their armor, and now King Cyrus was actually favored and chosen by God. The same way that we talk about 45. He was much more than just a great man who simply founded a very successful, huge empire. He was the epitome of great qualities that would be expected in a king, okay, or a ruler, if you will, okay. So just like then, today, all of the false peacekeepers, all of the false, political advisors will be attacked and they will no longer exist. I mean, that's just guaranteed. But not only that, he was extremely tolerant and brave, daring. He was beyond generous, okay? He was a merciful king, all right? And Alexander the Great inherited King Cyrus's empire. And Alexander the Great also admired King Cyrus, all right? He loved and appreciated his political stand, how his wealth never led to greed, all right? King Cyrus was never the type to go with the evil popular beliefs of other rulers, okay? And so who do you know that mirrors that image? If you're thinking number 45, then you're definitely right, okay? King Cyrus, just like 45, was strategic, patient, law-abiding, just, and swift, okay? And see, back then, it was nothing. It was like second nature for people to overthrow rulers. It has happened for thousands of years, although we have just seen that recently, okay? This also has to do with the 7-year tribulation as well. So if you see this, the coin was minted in 2017. From 2017 to 2024 is 7 years. And within that great tribulation, we were told that 1/4 of the people will be slain. And that has happened during the thing that shall not be named. There were actually 1/4 of people who are not here anymore during that pandemic time, okay? So I'm going to go into great detail in the video 17 part 2 because this has turned into a very lengthy video, and I'm going to continue going into the Freemasonry, the different legions 18 through 33, okay? And all of this has to do with the Shriners, and it's I'm gonna go a little bit deeper, but that's the girls' code on, you know, the coins. I mean, some people may have their own interpretations. I'm open to anything that you may be thinking. Leave your comments in the comment sections. But let's talk about the Shriner, what is this? The trophy, the mascot, if you will. Who is that man holding that child within the Shriners logo? I want to talk a little bit about Mr. Dieter and who he is or who he was to the Shriners, and why is it that they are using his image, you know, holding the child when we think of Shriners, okay? So give me one moment and we'll go into detail about that.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits. I'm losing shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip. You choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. Yeah. There's no mercy in this world, just hunger-thirsty persons in different versions. Each new update, that shit worsens. Why? Pull back the curtain and you'll see the different vermin. We all have different burdens that all seem to cause disturbance. Yo, so do me a favor, don't treat me like a neighbor. Don't need the different flavors of your problems just to savor. I've got my own issues, I need a comb to get through. Don't need to groan with you, just go get your own tissue. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. That's it, the end of the song. Next time you'll sing along. Trust me, there's nothing wrong. I just need to carry on, cause society's a myth put there to make you sit. Listen to what they give. Don't ask questions, shut your lid. Yeah, don't ask questions, shut your lid. I need to run away from this and go get off the grid. Feel like my brain is overloaded, man, I'm losing it. Don't let them tell you what to do, man, they don't know shit.
So, the silent messenger statue was inspired by a photographer named Robert Dita. And the statue is of a noble, a Shriner's noble. His name is Al Hortman, and he can be seen holding a little girl and her crutches. And this little girl's name is Bobby Joe Wright. Okay, she was a patient at the Shriners Hospital in Evansville, Philadelphia. Now, today, Bobby Joe is 50 years young, but at the time of the photo, she was 5. So for 45 years, this Kosea silent messenger statue has appeared across the country, all right? And it claims that the representation of the statue is to remind children that they'll do everything possible to enhance the lives of children, including, carrying them from point A to point B, even if they have to carry the child, him or herself. So he's carrying Bobby Joe and her crutches, okay? Now, although the Shriners claim they're no way connected to Islam, Bobby Joe remembers many Arabic themed celebrations when she was in the hospital, and she was scared of the clowns. That was a very memorable experience for her, is that she was afraid of these Shriners clowns, okay? Now, it's often said that clowns are the very staple of the circus, if you will, okay? Now, the very first clowns, I'm talking about the clowns that appeared like in the 40s and the 50s, had these huge smiles, these very huge mouth-to-mouth expansion. I'm talking about ear-to-ear, not mouth-to-mouth, ear-to-ear smiles with many rows of teeth, okay? Much more teeth than a human being. Okay, and some teeth are sharp, some were triple rolled, double rolled, and these wide smiles would really freak out the children, okay? And the Glasgow smile or the Chelsea grin is actually a torture technique that came from England, okay? So the street gangs, they were called like headhunters, and they would perform on their enemies this just this menacing scar that resembled a wide smile, okay? So it would go like from mouth to mouth. I'm sorry, why I keep saying mouth to mouth? From ear to ear. Now, we've also seen these smiles painted on the face of like possessed individuals too, okay? So not only do you see the Chelsea smile or the Chelsea grin, people will actually give tutorials and tell you how to paint your face and have the look of the Chelsea smile, okay? And I came across a channel called Understanding Conspiracy during my research, and he talks about the Nephilim being clowns, okay, or clowns being Nephilim, and I was coming to that very conclusion. That's why I stumbled across his channel. Check that channel out when you guys get a chance. It's called the Nephilim are clowns, or the Nephilim looked like clowns, okay? So, but whatever the influence is, I really cannot recall a time that I've known any children to be accepting of clowns, or even myself. Like, I've never liked clowns. I've always had this fear of clowns. Something about them just really was very evil, okay? And they know that too. So, I'm coming to the conclusion that these clowns are actually portraying what they have saw, hundreds or thousands of years ago from the fallen, okay? And this is why most children are really freaked out. They're psychologically freaked out when they see these clowns. It's very troubling. Like, when you see a huge smile with angry eyes, and, because normally when you see a smile, you think it's not associated with anger, right? So it's confusion in itself. And so we all know who the author of confusion is, right? Because it certainly isn't God. He is not the author of confusion. And that's what we saw in 2016. As we reflect upon this video, all of these clown sightings that were popping up in communities across, the nation. It was very confusing how clowns were just standing on people's porches and this sort of thing, okay? So, and that's why I focused a lot on the clowns in this video, because, that's a big part of the Shriners, big part of Club 17, right? And why is that? And also, I want to talk about really quick about this. They claim that there's a rare disorder, okay, causing people to see demon faces. This was actually on the news, and it's called demon face disorder, okay? That's what it's called. It actually has like a really long name. I know I'm gonna butcher it, but it's something like prosopamethemorphosis or something like that, but it's referred to as demon face syndrome. And they say nobody knows what causes it, but it's a disorder linked with some brain trauma, okay? And this is the reason why people are seeing people's faces distorted, the color, and you know what I mean, the smile, especially the mouth, okay? People are starting to see that, and I don't think it's a disorder, because we already know what's up with that. With the veil, it has lifted, so now we're starting to see these things for what they are, okay? That's what's happening. And then I want to say a little bit about the Bilkin. The Bilkin is one of the mascots, and this is actually a little god that the Shriners represent, okay? It's very interesting. I want to show you a few images, but when we get into the 17 part 2 video, I'm going to go into a little bit more detail, but just for your visual pleasure, the Bilkin, okay, is a huge staple of the Shriners as well, okay? And they used to make postcards and the old school comic books, stamps, things of this nature, okay? So these are old school gods, okay? They even had or it's a god, but this is what they do. They go back in time. They even had magazines with these celebrities of the time, whether it was the 80s or the 70s, sprawled across these Bilkin magazines, okay? And I'm going to get into it. It's very, very interesting, but for the sake of saving time for, ending this video, unfortunately, I have to, draw that particular segment to a close. But as I said, we will get into the Bilkin a lot further. Who is the Bilkin? What it represents? And oftentimes, though, let me just say this before I do end the video. Oftentimes with the Bilkin, hold on guys, I need to grab a power cord. It looks like I'm running out of power here. The Bilkin, you remember years ago, like maybe in the early 90s, we would see the trolls. Remember the little tiny troll dolls? Okay, that is a representation of the Bilkin as well. Okay, so they call it the trolls or whatever, but the troll doll actually represents the Bilkin. And then you have the representation of the fish, the men, half man, half fish. Okay, that's a huge representation. And when we get into 17 part part 2, we'll go into detail in terms of what that means as well. So I just wanted to give you just a little peek into what we can be looking forward to. And of course, we will be talking about more massive fires. Where are we today? So we went through the history of, the Shriners. We went through, let's see, the orders. We went through 1 through 17. So now we're going to go in part 2, we're going to go from 17 to 33, okay? And then I'm going to talk about this hidden degree, which is the 34th degree. It's a big thing, okay? It has a lot to do with giants, okay? So again, we'll start to talk about clowns again, because we'll talk about the clowns on the stilts, okay? You guys remember a long time ago, when I was a little girl, they don't do it too much. I haven't heard about it, but you would see the clowns on the stilts. So the really tall clowns, and they would be on like these wooden stilts walking around. Why is it that they're doing that? Are they mimicking giants? Okay, because giants were tall, big, and they look like that. So, perhaps they're mimicking what these giants or these fallen angels look like, with these white faces and these big red noses, okay? And they walked around on stilts, okay? Then we're going to also follow the actual circus path in itself. And when we follow this path in part 2, 17 part 2, you guys are going to see that I'm going to show you how missing children have been coming up. I'm going to get into detail about who these children, some of these children, not all of them, because it's a whole lot. But I'm going to show you exactly who these children were and why is it that we have all of these children missing around these circus routes, okay? So the circus comes to town, and next thing you know, a little girl or a little boy doesn't see his or her classmate, okay, at school when the weekend is over, or when the next day comes, okay, or when the circus is out of town. And then you have the very same people that's looking for the children who are in on the children disappearing from the beginning, okay? That's like a thief stealing from you and trying to help you find money, knowing damn well it's tucked in a back pocket, okay? And, as I said, we have to be very careful, okay? They're setting tents on fire purposefully, okay, for their rituals. So, circus tents are going up in flames. Even the old school, I'll try to put some clips in there because my clip insertion has been acting up, which is kind of like a catch-22, because when I add clips, I don't get any monetization from that. So this video doesn't have, as you can see, that's my little that's my theme. I like to add in videos, to give you a little idea on what I'm talking about, but I haven't done that here. But I will try to do that because I have a new app. I will insert some things in the Shrine 17 part 2. You know what I mean? But the point is they burn down these circuses on purpose. It's like fun to them. And that's why I've been talking about so many fires or whatever. But see, the tides are turning now where fires are happening to them. Thunder and lightning is striking their facilities and setting their facilities ablaze, okay? So there was, though, a disaster in Hartford, Connecticut. I don't know if you ever heard of it, but it was called the Hartford Circus disaster. And this was one of the biggest disasters in Connecticut's history, where the entire circus burnt down. I'm talking about it just burnt down, all right? And the weirdest part of it all is they had a missing child, and they called her Little Miss, what did they call her? Little Miss, oh, gosh, you know what? I should know that, right? I have so many dang on notes. Wait a minute, let me tell you all. The little girl, I'm going to insert it in this video. Let me see. Her name, I know it's 15 something. Okay, there we go. So the little girl that was missing, they call her Little Miss 1565. Of all of I think it's over 1,000 people that passed away. or almost 1,000 people that passed away in that circus disaster. Now let's just get numerology going for a moment, you all. 1565, all right? What does that mean to you? Does it ring a bell? I never really was into numbers like that until, recently. But 1 plus 5 plus 6 plus 5, 1565 equals 17. Okay? So Little Miss 1565 was this, little girl who was actually missing. And I think she was like the last child that they pulled out, and they couldn't design her. Lord, forgive me for that. They could not identify her. Okay, and they called her Little Miss 1565 for, I believe, like maybe the seat that she was in or something like that. But it all points to 17. All right, so there's a lot of mystery behind the number 17. All right, and so that was the purpose of this particular video. And that's what these Freemasonry brotherhoods are all about. It's all about symbolism. Symbolism is huge for them. And symbolism will absolutely be their downfall. And just as if yesterday, I can recall Juan saying, Juan O'Savin, or saving, Juan is saving them, huh? Whatever you want to call him, whether you like him or not, a lot of his predictions and a lot of the things that he talked to us about, you all, has come to pass. And he said that this was Russian roulette for America. Okay, and I have seen that. Okay, you see one side making a move, you see another side making a move. There's only one master here. Okay, and it's not man. All right, it's not man at all. All right, so these things that we're looking at are not out of this world. These are not worldly things. People are so used to seeing the movies where, entities look so different from us, but they really do not. Okay, they don't. They come down here and they can look just like us with their cloaking abilities, with their shape-shifting abilities, and then they come and they influence celebrities. They influence the athletes, right? They influence the politicians. They influence the musicians. They get into our or not even just get into our foods and beverages, they actually create them. And then they put bad influences on that. So in 17 part 2, we're going to be also discussing the Ronald McDonald House, okay? I want to talk about the horrors behind the Ronald McDonald House, which also housed children, and what that meant, okay? So make sure you stay tuned for all of that. Remember to like, remember to subscribe, and remember to keep the comments rolling. Y'all know I love to, read your thoughts and always be the difference that you want to see in the world. I love you, and I'll see you in the next one.